What you are about to watch is an interview between myself and Joe Exotic of the infamous Tiger King Netflix documentary. Now, Joe is currently serving a 21-year sentence in federal prison for trumped up charges. He has been targeted by people who are not interested in advancing freedom, free expression, liberty in this nation, in the United States of America, where those values should be upheld. Those values are what allow me to operate this yoga school. If I was in Europe, I would be thrown in prison for things I've said in this yoga school. But we have an ounce of freedom in this country, and we have to fight to keep it and defend it. And that's what Joe's doing right now. Joe is fighting his wrongful imprisonment. He is a political prisoner, and he deserves your support. We live in a new age, the age of the ajna. I've talked about this in some of my lectures and videos. In this new age, reason doesn't matter to the system. What matters is narratives. They will put a narrative on you. They will run your reputation through the mud in order to control you, take away your freedom, put you in prison. We cannot allow this to be the new standard of conduct in the United States or anywhere else in the world. I don't care where you live. Joe's fight is your fight. Joe's fight is a fight for truth and the expression of dharma. And if we're not willing to stand up for Joe, then we're not willing to stand up for ourselves. The system relies on your apathy. Yeah, plenty of people watch the Tiger King documentary, but how many are willing to actually listen to his plea now when it matters? How many are willing to actually stand up, take action, do something? And you can do something. So I want you to listen to this interview, pay close attention to what Joe has to say, and go to his website, joeexoticofficial.com. Donate to his legal fund. Take a look at the evidence for yourself. See how innocent he is. Stand up. Make your voice heard. Be a true hero. Fight for freedom.
Tyler,
Joe, can you hear me all right?
I can hear you.
How are you, Joe?
Hey, man, it's prison, but I appreciate the opportunity and the platform.
Of course. It's very, very good to talk to you. This case means a lot to me. Whenever I watched the Tiger King documentary, I gotta say it really pissed me off because it was very obvious to me that this was a hit piece and it was used to set you up. Basically, you were sacrificed in order to advance the agenda of the Big Cat Public Safety Act.
Yeah, it's a shame that they can destroy someone's life and put them away for so long for an agenda. Only for an agenda. Because the animals didn't win in this at all, because all they've done was took my animals and put them in their sanctuaries, and they're still charging to see them. So the exploitation's still going.
Yeah, that's a major problem with a lot of these so-called animal rights activists, is that they utilize fear-mongering and political dogma in order to advance their agenda, and they end up doing more damage to the animals than actually helping them.
Yeah, absolutely.
So one thing I noticed in the documentary, and this is something that is addressed in your appeal, is the fact that much of the drama surrounding your conflict with these animal rights activists was greatly exaggerated. And in fact, many of the individuals featured in the documentary were paid as actors to be in the documentary.
Yeah, absolutely. And we have video evidence now that has been turned over of the producers of Tiger King literally paying tens of thousands of dollars for people to talk shit to further his agenda to make this movie so they could pass the Big Cat Safety Act. And that's what this was all about.
Yeah, con artists like Eric Good, who actually stated that he set out to make the big cat equivalent of Blackfish, which shows me that he had a bias coming into this. He did not want to accurately portray the condition of the big cat industry in the United States, and he wanted to use you in a witch hunt to advance his career as a media worm, basically.
Well, and that's absolutely right too, because if his agenda would have been to better the care of big cats and animals in captivity, he would have showed my zoo, and it's at.
This call is from a federal prison.
But instead, he'd done stupid shit like interviewing Sap, the girl that lost her arm, sitting in a junkyard. Okay, instead of in front of a tiger cage, not blaming the tiger for losing her arm. You know what I'm saying? And then we got the hitman in a bathtub, and then we've got John Finley running around half naked all the time. It was strictly a hit piece to make tiger and exotic animal people look like fools.
And another thing addressed in your appeal is the ridiculousness of this whole hitman narrative, because the $3,000 that you paid to Alan Glover, that was a loan that was paid at the behest of Jeff Lowe in order to get Alan out of the zoo. It had nothing to do with a hit.
Absolutely, and we even have documents of like 3-4 months later of Jeff Lowe asking Alan if he's got any of that money to give back so he could stock his gift shop. Yeah, no, it had nothing to do with killing Carol Baskin. It was to get him to South Carolina off the zoo because we couldn't get along, and he was nothing but a mess at the zoo. So he was supposed to go back to South Carolina, get all of his legal problems in check, and work for Jeff out there.
And of course, the testimony of Mr. Glover and Mr. Lowe, that made a big difference in the jury's reaction in their decision.
Oh, mate, that's what convicted me. When
Right.
He got up on the stand and said that I gave him $3,000, I gave him a cell phone, he went to Florida, blah, 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 blah. Oh, yeah. But, since then he's admitted to perjury, and he went one step further and admitted that him and Jeff had a whole plot to kill me to begin with. Why is no one charged in this?
I committed perjury during my grand jury testimony regarding my involvement as the hitman in the murder for hire.
Right.
Well, I believe no one has been charged because the government fucked up, and they don't want their corruption exposed. They'd rather just brush this under the rug and not care that an innocent man is in prison.
I hate to break it to them, but all of this evidence and this corruption is now in front of 3 judges in Denver, Colorado, in appeal court. So they're not going to cover it up much longer.
Beautiful, beautiful. And also, in the appeal, it's noted that Glover and Lowe admitted that much of their testimony was coached by federal agents, scripted even.
Absolutely, yeah. And we have text messages, evidence between them and the federal agent, where the federal agent knew that the story was a lie and made up, but he coached them into going along with it just so they could convict me.
Completely ridiculous. And of course, if the feds are going to use such underhanded tactics in order to set you up to advance their political agenda, it's in their interest to silence you. And there's a lot of things that have happened to you while you've been in prison that it seems that they were designed specifically to keep you quiet.
The first 2 years and 8 months was in solitary confinement, so I couldn't help gather evidence. I couldn't hire my own personal lawyers. I had to use public defenders. Couldn't call nobody. Couldn't help do nothing. No, yeah, absolutely. They arrested me, kept me in solitary confinement, kept me shut up while they made Tiger King, and I went through trial.
And it's difficult enough getting your story out right now because of the character assassination that has been done against you, and the fact that, for example, today we only have 2 15-minute phone calls to discuss all of this. There is so much information in this appeal, and we are going to be releasing a follow-up video that describes all of this information in detail. So we're just going to get through as much of it as we can today. But yeah, it's difficult enough being able to express this injustice without all of these willful barriers being placed in front of you within the federal prison system.
Yeah, it's crazy. Crazy. The appeal that you're looking at and the evidence that you have that corrupt-ass judge in Oklahoma City sat on that motion for 19 months, making me sit in prison almost 2 years longer before he denied it. And then the only reason he denied it so I could go on to Denver was because my lawyer filed another motion making him answer. Or I'd still be sitting here waiting for him to deny it, because that's the problem with the system. The federal judges have no bosses. They can do whatever the hell they want to do. So it has taken me 7 years of my life to get to an appeal court in Denver, Colorado.
Oh, it makes me sick to my stomach, Joe, that the court system was weaponized against you. Such obvious corruption.
You know what? You know what's even sadder, Scholar, is the assistant prosecutor, the U.S. attorney that prosecuted me, Amanda Green, that knew they were all lying, and she had the evidence in her possession, proving I was innocent, and she kept it all.
This call is from a federal prison.
She is a federal judge today because she got promoted by putting me in prison. And if she could do that to me, how many other people that appear in her courtroom are getting railroaded?
And that's why it is so important for everyone who is listening to this to look into this case, look at the obvious corruption that happened. This could happen to you. It could happen to any of us. That's why we have to support
Anybody.
Joe. Anyone.
Yeah, look what they're doing to President Trump. If they can indict a former president 94 times, trust me, when they want you, they're going to get you.
Right. Yeah, there's no justice. What it is they've created narratives, and they push those narratives, and it's not based upon reason, and it's not based upon evidence. It's just a witch hunt.
Absolutely.
One.
So have you seen the evidence? Have you seen the evidence yet of all of the crimes that Jeff and James were involved in during all of this, with the credit card fraud and the sex trafficking and the identity theft and the rape, and it's crazy.
Yeah, you know what, Joe? I've been looking into it, but there's so much evidence of really sick shit happening that is not being addressed by the feds.
I believe it's in the appeal, too, where the sheriff of Garvin County hid the charges on Alan Glover, the felony charges, during my trial, so that way the jury wouldn't know that the hitman was being charged with other felonies that had nothing to do with my case. And Sheriff Rhodes of Garvin County covered that up and got them charges all dropped, just so he would look good on the stand.
And in the appeal, it also says, and I love this, it says this whole case is a matter of he said, they said. And, there was no recorded evidence or witness testimony of actual hitman solicitation that wasn't perjury.
No, absolutely. Because the undercover video that they have of the FBI undercover guy in the office with me and James Garrison, he tried to get me to give him money, and I came up with an excuse of why we didn't have money. Then he tried to get me to give him half down, and I come up with an excuse of why I didn't have $5,000. He tried to get me to go buy a gun, and I refused to do that. He tried to get me to go buy cell phones, and I refused to do that. But they twisted all of that around in a jury and in the press that I offered him $10,000. Hell, it's right there on tape that I didn't offer him shit. And then when they asked for Carol Baskin's address, what was my answer? Oh, you got to go ask Jeff Lowe, because I wasn't going to give him Carol's address.
Yeah, the whole thing is totally fabricated. They badgered you into this. At no point in time, it's obvious to me, at no point in time did you actually intend or solicit a hitman. No intention.
Absolutely not. Hey, Scholar, this thing beeps. It's going to hang up any second.
To accept this call, press 5. To block you may begin speaking now.
Scholar.
Hello, Joe. I'm glad to have you back on the line.
I had to wait 15 minutes, and then I'd stand back in line, and there's only 6 phones for 300 people.
Oh, shit. Well, thank you so much for standing back in line and getting back with me so quick. Okay, just a couple more things that I want to cover from the appeal. The fact that the Lacey Act violation, this was a total mishandling of the law, you held the USDA exhibitor's license,
Correct.
and the transfers that you made were donations without any financial incentive, correct?
Correct.
Right. So this should just be thrown out.
Well, they should be, okay? But the kicker behind this is okay, the USDA didn't charge me with nothing. They're the ones who give me the license. They're the ones who inspect me. They're the ones who tell me what to do. Even putting those 5 tigers to sleep, okay, that was USDA protocol. In 23 years, I never saw a federal Fish and Wildlife agent. They never wanted to know how many I had. They never wanted to know how many were born, how many died, where the bodies were, nothing. Okay, until it came time to put me in jail. Then they came back, tigers that I put down a year ago, okay, they come back and said I should have filed for a permit. Well, why should I have to file for a permit for something I own that I'm licensed by the USDA to exhibit and take care of and my vet protocols are under?
Oh, it's completely ridiculous. It's just another example of this idea that we can't do anything in life without the federal government telling us it's okay. And all the freedom, all the fun, all the ability to express ourselves as artists is being taken away from us. And you're a prime example of that.
You know, when I ran for governor of Oklahoma, it was the same argument, you know. You fight for what? To have the American dream, to own your own house and your own property and own your own business. Okay, you can buy the land, you can pay all the property taxes on it, you can build a house, you can pay all the sales tax on the material to build your house. I can go rent a bulldozer and dig a pond, and then I can pay to put city water in it. Then I can pay to put fish in it because I got to go buy the fish to put in it. And you know I can't have you come fish in my pond at a barbecue without you fucking filing for a fishing license?
It's insane. And you know, I run into this because I run a Tantra yoga school and I talk about a lot of controversial things. In the United States, you know, I'm supposed to have the right to do this, but my freedom of speech is being eroded very quickly. And I could end up in the same position that you're in any day.
It's crazy, man.
Yeah, it's completely crazy. And while you are on the subject of the euthanization of the tigers, something I read in the appeal which really blew my mind was the fact that you had the go-ahead from the zoo veterinarian to euthanize tigers that were in very poor condition. And this is a very humane thing to do.
I did. And you know, part of my USDA protocol that my inspector signed off on and my vet signed off on was euthanization by gunshot, as long as it was instantaneous. Okay, and let me tell you, a gunshot is a whole lot more humane than an hour of tranquilizing and convulsions and puking and everything else so a vet can walk in and kill him.
Yeah, exactly. I'm from rural Missouri, where, you know, if we have a sick cow or a sick horse or something like that and it needs to be euthanized, it's with a gunshot, you know. And we don't have the feds coming in and, you know, sticking their nose in our business because most of us were not high profile. But you're high profile, so if you know, do the wrong thing, you piss the wrong person off, they're going to weaponize the system against you.
It's crazy. If you have an opinion or a voice in this country, yeah, you're a target.
And this is really important to me. See, one of the things that we talk about a lot in my school is this concept of dharma, you know, being able to express your nature. And if you don't have a free country, if you can't pursue free expression, you cannot be the best version of yourself. Now, that's what you were doing with your zoo, with your music, with all this great artistic expression. Everyone loves Joe, right? Everyone loves this free expression, but they're not willing to fight to defend it. You know, people need to stand up and fight over this.
Exactly. Almost every letter that I ever got in the mail, and I still get, people say, I love you because you're unapologetic and you stand up for yourself. Well, why don't you stand up with me and let's take that back? You know, am I going to apologize to anybody for shooting 5 tigers? Hell no, because it was the right thing to do, and I would do it again tomorrow if it was for the benefit of the health and the suffering of an animal. I'd do it in a heartbeat. If it was legal, I'd shoot your grandma rather than leave her on life support in a nursing home.
Right. I mean, that's the cowboy way. You don't just leave someone to suffer out in the desert. You know, if they're hurting, you have to do the humane thing.
Yeah, it's crazy. But you know what's crazier is PETA kills 1,000 animals a year, and people give them money for it.
PETA's completely full of shit. These people, they have the narrative on their side, right? And we have to take it back, and we can. And one way we can do that is to stand up. We can send money to Joe for his legal fund. We can get him out of prison, because every day he's in prison is an indictment of this country. This is supposed to be a free country with free expression. And people like Joe should not have to suffer like this because he lived according to his dharma. He expressed himself freely, and he was entertaining all of us. He's a folk hero. So, Joe, listen, we have got to get you out of prison.
But it's crazy that our country is run by lobbyists and special interest groups. They're the ones who donate the $800 million to a presidential campaign. They're the ones who donate millions of dollars to senator and Congress campaigns. Because we the people that build this country, don't mean shit to these people if you're broke.
That's right. That's exactly right. And so that's why we have to rally around people like you, Joe, because you actually do give a shit about the people in this country. You actually do give a shit about freedom and what this country is supposed to stand for. So, you know, you have millions of fans. If every one of those fans just gives $1 to your legal fund, that'll make a huge difference.
Dude, man, I still owe $70,000 just to get through this appeal. And, you know, as bad as I hate to say it, money motivates lawyers, you know. And in order for me to get out, I got to pay this bill somehow, some way. But you know, what my goal is, one, is to get President Trump to acknowledge that he's not the only one in this country that's getting screwed by the system. And two is, when I do make it out of here, my first goal is to testify in front of Congress.
Hell yes, Joe. Yes, and you can make a big difference for prison reform. You can make a big difference in promoting free speech. But what can we do right now to help you get out of prison? Who do we need to write a letter to? Who do we need to call? Where do we send money? What can we do?
Well, my website is joeexoticofficial.com. All of the donation links on there are legit. You can Vimeo, you can Cash App, you can PayPal. But the most important thing is that evidence link that's on there. We have to share it with everyone and have them send it to their senators and their congressmen and say, what the hell is wrong with the Department of Justice when a hitman can admit that he lied under oath and took them and showed them where he hid a murder weapon to kill his subject to start with, and I'm the one still in jail and there's not been a criminal charge pressed against anybody. And
this is not an exaggeration. This is not sensationalist bullshit. Oh, go ahead.
The videotapes of him with my lawyers under oath admitting to all this is right there on that website under the evidence link. You can see it come straight out of his mouth.
That's right. Yes. And so this is not an exaggeration, and this is the most important political thing that you can support. Anyone listening to this can support. It's more important than anything right now in this country, because this is the fundamental freedom that we possess that's under threat, and Joe's actually been attacked. You can actually make a difference. This is even more important than casting a vote. Although if you are going to vote, I say vote for Joe because he is running for president as a libertarian candidate this year.
This call is from a federal prison.
This is the most important election we'll ever have. You know, Harris, she co-sponsored the very bill that put me in here, and she bragged about it on her Twitter. You know, so what is she gonna do with something you don't like? She gonna pass a law, introduce a law, sign it into law, and put your ass in prison? That's what we're looking at right now. That's what we're looking at.
Yeah, we're just one. I mean, anybody, literally anyone in this country. We all have our own Carol Baskin that's in our business, trying to fuck us up, destroy our livelihood. You know, every one of us, we know somebody like that. And all it takes, all it takes is one piece of legislation, and they could shut down my yoga school. or they could shut someone's farm down. Anything.
Well, look at that lady during COVID that they arrested for just leaving her business open. You have no rights.
Right, exactly. Now, one last thing I want to note about this appeal is this is a very strong appeal. The district court denied your motion for retrial, but if you apply the test of United States versus Bagley, which states a conviction obtained by the knowing use of perjured testimony is fundamentally unfair and must be set aside if there's any reasonable likelihood that the false testimony could have affected the judgment of the jury. This test, if applied, means that you should have a retrial, and if you have a retrial and you get a fair trial, this whole thing should be thrown out.
You know, they'll never take me back to trial because their witnesses are shit. They've already ruined it. They have no case. They need to just let me go, dude.
Yes, they do. They need to just let you go. And we're going to do everything we can to make sure that happens. Like I said, we're going to follow this up with a detailed dissection of your appeal so that people can see just how insane this whole thing is. And then once you get out, Joe, I'm looking forward to seeing you on tour, playing your music, being an artist, bringing happiness to the people like we all know you can do, making money, and doing real good for this world, really doing good for tigers, for animals. We all know how much you love animals. The way you were portrayed in that documentary as being some lunatic that doesn't care for animals, that's a load of bullshit. We all know how much you care.
If people want to see the truth, get on my YouTube channel, Joe Exotic TV, and go look at how I took care of my animals. The true videos are there.
Yes, beautiful, wonderful, Joe. Well, we love you, Joe. We're going to keep supporting you. We're going to keep fighting. Is there any last thing you want to say to all of your supporters?
You know, I appreciate the support from all around the world. I couldn't have made it this long without you. So I send my love to everybody that watches and listens to this. The most important thing is be my voice. Stand up and raise hell. JoeExoticOfficial.com, get you whatever merch, or take the evidence link and spread it around to all your friends. And people start asking questions. We have 30 days to get somebody to answer to this.
Hell yes. We're going to stand up. We're going to Boston Tea Party and ride the tiger this shit, and we're going to get you out of prison. 100% we're going to do it.
I appreciate it, Skyler. Send my love to your wife.
Oh, I will. Thank you, Joe.
All right. Bye-bye.
So, ladies and gentlemen, yeah, I've done some shit in my past that I ain't too real colorful about, but I damn sure ain't ashamed about it because you know what? Trying drugs in my past, I understand why people are on drugs. I understand why they're alcoholics. It's because of society. Society has pushed them aside. Mention something about freedom of speech. Let me just explain to you how freedom of speech works, okay? I care. I have a loving heart, and I know exactly what you've been through because I've done it all. First of all, it's a constitutional right of the United States. In freedom of speech, you only had the freedom of speech until it pisses somebody else off. We gotta stop the discrimination. We gotta stop the hate. And we all gotta become one. Fuck you, fuck them. We're gonna live our life for us for a change. Alright? So the hell with freedom of speech. You ain't got the freedom of speech to say shit about anybody or what you think anymore. So that's why my favorite words, fuck it.